Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful evening with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn. As you see, we have a spiritual psychotherapist, believe it or not, who use a more spiritual modality to help in therapy for women in particular, and I guess people in general, but women more so. And this week is a very important week because, first of all, we're going into the holidays, it's Thanksgiving week, and we're going to also be giving a lot of thought to what's going on. And so, for example, before I do bring on my guest, let me say hi. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful show today. And the reason why is this is one of the times of the year during the holidays where people get depressed, particularly I found out when it comes to women. So my guest, Sonia, is a spiritual psychotherapist, an author, a teacher, a whole lot more. And then on Wednesday, I'm having a mental therapist. So it's all talking about how women, and I guess sometimes men, I guess they deal with men too, but primarily their main focus is women. And so any women out there that feel they have questions, please feel free to ask my guest for today and Wednesday. But in the meantime, I want to let you know that the sponsors are Nicholas Brooklyn at 1396 Fulton Street in Brooklyn, New York. Please ask for Monique, if not Cafunia. They're the two. Also, Jazz Aphrodite, my Monday moderator, she is sponsoring a holiday sale with 20% off. And in addition, she is now making her jewelry craft available. And that's a 10% off. Just go to jazzaphrodite.com to do that, to take advantage of the jewelry sales. Um, Also, Rizza Islam, his intellectual powers credit. Also, Miss Kimberly of Manifest on Purpose. And before I bring on my distinguished guest, let me tell you about today's Cosmic. Please like, share, and subscribe. I understand it's good for the algorithms. I always forget. I will not DM you for money. This is very, very important, folks. But this is Monday. It's the 25th of 2024. The sun is in Sagittarius. The moon is in Libra. It's a one universal month, a five universal week, and eight universal days. So those who are born under the signs of Capricorn, Aquarius, or Libra, or born on the 8th to 17th, such as my guest, or the 26th, this is obviously your day. Now, before I do begin to, there's a couple of things I want to bring to your attention. And let me do this here. Okay. One of them is two things. Yes, it's Thanksgiving week. But as of today, starting tonight at 9:42 p.m., Mercury goes retrograde. When Mercury goes retrograde, it's ruled by Mercury, the planet of communications, and it means miscommunications, mishaps, misunderstandings, things like that. And it will last through December the 15th. So it starts tonight officially at 9:42 p.m. and it will end on December the 15th at 3:56 p.m. in the afternoon. So as long as you know that, so if the phone has been acting up, computers acting up, cars acting up, I thought you said this, I thought you said that. Well, now you know. So it's not just in your imagination. For some reason, this is a phenomenon that takes place 3 times a year. It's the only planet that seems to do that. All the planets go retrograde at some point, but they go in a more not, they go at a precise moment, but not like Mercury. Mercury retrograde is very swift, but then again, that's what Mercury represents: swiftness, travel, movement, and whatnot. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on my guest, psychotherapist, spiritual psychotherapist, Sonia Ross. Sonia, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Okay, can you hear? First of all, you good?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I got psychotherapists. I have a mental therapist coming on Wednesday.
Yes.
You are a spiritual psychotherapist.
Yes.
Explain, please.
Well, I kind of evolved into that. And the reason that was because I started noticing, and through my own personal journey as well, is that we're not just a mind and a body. We are a spirit. We're a spirit having a physical experience. And so I just felt more called to bring that into our conversations with my clients. And they've been very open to it, understanding, talking about the afterlife, talking about mediumship, talking about spiritual experiences, mystical experiences. And more people are having mystical experiences, random everyday people, not just people who are off trying to have these experiences. And so it helps with the conversation, and it helps to like deepen into the healing process. And also when you can bring the understanding of our whole multidimensional self, I feel it can bring a lot of healing to a lot of people's lives, especially the Black women I serve. I mainly work with Black women.
What started you on this journey?
Well, I've been on a spiritual journey after a traumatic event in my early 20s, and then I've always had a very ferocious reading habit, and always wanting to understand, trying to make sense of my own life. And the things I read did make sense, and it put certain things in context. And then once I began going to school, and I went back in about 2007 to become a social worker and went through that whole process, I, was interested in helping people and serving people, but I always felt like things should be separate, or that's how I was taught. Things needed to be separate. But
Sure.
then as I developed and I became more confident in my own skills and abilities and had my own practice, which I've had for 7.5 years now, it really evolved into, bringing a whole person solution to healing, and, feeling that that is the best way to benefit and serve people.
Question. Why
Yes.
is it do people seem to get depressed, particularly around the holidays? Because they
Yeah.
always paint images of,
Hmm.
if you look on TV around the
Yeah.
family sitting around the table, turkey, stuffing, all this other stuff. And yet it seems to be the loneliest time of the year during Thanksgiving and Christmas. That
Yeah, I
seems to
think
be.
during other times of the year, people can busy themselves. They can be out with friends. They can, travel. They're always at work. But when things slow down for everyone in the country, people are kind of confronted with the wounds they don't typically pay attention to, the inner voices they don't typically listen to that are usually wounds from the childhood. And it's kind of salt in the wound to know other people have close family relationships or seemingly close family relationships, things that are about connection and feeling loved. And a lot of people don't acknowledge that they grew up in very difficult situations, or they don't feel those connections with their family. So the holidays kind of rub salt in the wound. And since everything is slow, there's not as much activity, people can really feel that internal sense of pressure, and it can bring about feelings of loneliness.
Why women more so than men? Because I was surprised that women seem to go more through depression. It was also my understanding that women take more medication than men during these times. Is that true? First of all, why women more so than men, you think?
um I think women just, I mean, there's studies about this and I think, okay, there's two things. I think women actually go to the doctor more. So they're more open about their feelings so they can get diagnosed. They're more vulnerable. They'll talk about things, and, they'll have girlfriends who are going through things. And so they can talk about it that way. Um, so there's the actual going to the doctor piece. And then there's also the fact that, you know, we're more emotional, and and that's not a bad thing. So don't get in your feelings. It's just more, we're more connected to our emotions and feelings. And so we'll understand and feel the weight of certain feelings and emotions and try to sort things out. And then a lot of times with depression and things like that, it can be from our own individual experiences. It can be part of the collective. It can be ancestral. There's many underlying issues for depression. But I feel like ultimately, to answer your question, I feel like it's because women oftentimes are more in tune with their emotions and connected to their emotions, so they can feel when they feel down.
So do women get together? Are there formations of women groups per se, like women organizations where they may not call it the depressed organization, but they kind of get together as a support group? Because I noticed women tend to get more, they form more support organizations or support groups than men do.
Yeah. Well, women can form support organizations wherever they are. They form a lot of support organizations around anything that they like or anything that's important to them. But the conversation of depression may not always come up. And actually, even within these groups that are not for mental health, there's still a lot of internal resistance that comes from, the culture and family systems that tell them they're not supposed to, talk about certain things, or, especially among Black people, this ingrained idea that comes from oppression that, if we talk about these things, then we're weak or something's wrong with us, when that's not the case at all.
I was going to point that out, that for it seemed like people in the Black community seem to be shamed if you say, well, I'm going to a therapist. We say, oh, something must be wrong with you.
Yeah.
Really, something's wrong with a whole lot of people in this culture and in this society.
100% of the humanity, our community specifically has gone through a lot of collective trauma, and we are also holding a lot of ancestral trauma in our bodies. And so, we're kind of, because of the energy that's on the planet right now, we're not in a phase where we can just be like, with that push through it thing that we've done for generations. And so a lot of people are seeking out therapeutic supports because they're trying to process and move through these emotions because they're really feeling the heaviness of them. And, a lot of my clients, they do unfortunately get very, a lot of pushback from their families, but, they keep going. But I think it's slowly starting to come that people are releasing that shame, because once they get into therapy, they feel the benefits. And even, when I've had male clients, they've said they feel the benefits. It's helped with their communication skills with their family members, their spouses, their children. They can understand sometimes why they made certain choices. It helps them process things differently. But once you get in it, they feel the benefit. But yeah, a lot of times they can get, it is very stigmatized, and their families can kind of hold them back.
What's interesting, I was going to ask, and you beat me to it, do men ever consult you too? And you answered the question.
Yep. I've had many. I primarily focus on women right now, but I've had many men clients over the years, and they really have benefit from it. They feel the difference.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. For those of you in the audience, male or female, if you have any questions or feel that you've gone through a depression, it's not to put your business in the street, but we all need help. Everybody needs help at some point.
Absolutely.
And so this is why this week is featuring about, for the benefit of women who may go through depression. We men go through it too, but we men got this testosterone and I can shake it off and whatnot. And do you know, here in New York City, that what they do is they have it's kind of an unwritten kind of law that during the holidays, that when the trains come into the stations, like especially 42nd, 34th Street, main stations, that they come in slow because people have actually jumped in front of trains.
Yeah, that's happened here in DC too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's it. So what I'm saying is, for anybody in the audience who feels that, and it's not about a shame thing, it's about, we all need help. And if you need help, that's exactly why I have these professionals on this week to do it. Now, but you do something different. You take a spiritual approach.
Yes.
Okay. So spiritual, what modalities do you use? Prayer, some of the ancient sciences of astrology, numerology, or whatever the case is?
Yeah. Mine is kind of eclectic, so I don't have a particular thing I do. As far as a specific go-to. One thing I do offer as a complement to the psychotherapy is I do offer energy healing services. And so that is to help people, because, as I tell my clients, we can work with our mind and we can work with our bodies. But I feel like unless we work with our energy body, that's a missing component of our healing. Because like I said before, we're carrying things that are ancestral, individual, collective, and across from other lifetimes. And so it's about the dialogue I bring into the conversation. I do talk about the fact that we've had other lifetimes. I do talk about ancestral healing. I do talk about collective healing. I talk about everything that makes us a human being and brings us into our present moment experience. And there's nothing that's off limits. So they can tell me about their dreams. They can tell me about, different psychic experiences they have. They can tell me about, visitations from deceased relatives. A lot of my clients have been having visitations from deceased relatives, and they would not call themselves a psychic or a medium, but that is becoming more and more common for people.
Yeah, well, women seem to tap in more to the esoteric side that we men, I guess because we men are more kind of into our so-called logic, where women's emotions are allowed to tap into other things that a lot of times I guess we men just don't pick up. But I just go ahead.
No, I've had male clients who are very intuitive, but again, like to your point, they're not really allowed to kind of like dive deep into that place because they're kind of more in their masculine, active nature, more of their logic. And so that's kind of, whereas women, we're more receptive, we can slow down, and we're more curious about certain experiences that we have.
Well, I just think it's very, very interesting how this whole thing works. So when you see a client, what's the process? They come to you and you just reach out and whatnot, and or you schedule, and how's the process? Do you do it? See, nowadays with this technology,
Yeah.
since the COVID experience of 2020, now a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, instead of coming into an office, they just meet on Zoom
Yes.
or whatever the case is. And I guess the newer technology makes it easy for the client that, first of all, don't have to get out, but they feel comfortable in their own home. Most people normally feel comfortable in their own home environment.
Yeah.
And what's your process?
Yeah, so they usually, sometimes they come through referral. I am on therapy for Black girls, and so sometimes they'll find me from there. Sometimes they'll find me from their insurance carrier, whatever the case may be, and then they'll send me an email, and then they'll say, what they're looking for, and I'll say, let's set up a 15-minute consultation to see if we're a good fit, and then we'll have a conversation about, what they're looking for, how I work. I always try to be completely transparent with people that I have been trained in certain modalities. So, especially when working with Black women, I bring the body into it because, it's been part of my experience professionally that when we bring Black women into our bodies, it reestablishes a missing connection that was severed through the oppression and different types of traumas. And then, and I also am very transparent that, I'm an intuitive. I work with angels. I do energy healing. I do different things. And so that is also part of the conversation. I'm going to say different things that they may not hear from a traditional therapist. And I let them know very transparently, this is me, this is how I work. And are you comfortable with this? And oftentimes they say, yeah, I am. I was raised a certain way, but my eyes have been opened through different experiences. And so they want to proceed on then.
I think that's nice that you bring angels into the picture too, without them looking at you kind of cross-eyed or like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because you would think that doctors and therapists in that way are very more clinical,
Mm-hmm.
more practical,
Yeah.
and not more esoteric, looking into ancestrals, connections, and whatnot like that. Because
Yeah.
I don't think we really realize that a lot of things are passed down through our past experiences, through our parents, their parents,
100%.
their
Yeah.
parents, and culture, especially
Yeah.
through the Black experience of all the trauma that we've gone through for hundreds of years in this country.
Yeah, 100%. And then, shamanically and cross culturally, there's always been a lot of literature and, verbal storytelling about things being passed down through families. Now, the West and science is now also, they've labeled it epigenetics, and they can tell, they've been able to identify certain family traits that have been passed down to other family members, even though they did not actually experience a particular experience. For instance, I did a talk many moons ago, and it was based on a lot of research about Holocaust survivors, and that people who had been in concentration camps in Poland, who had had issues with starvation, when they looked at their genes and their genomes and different things like that, the generations after them, their children, the survivors, their children and grandchildren had the same changes in their genes and the same abnormalities as the people who had been in the concentration camp.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
So
very
genetics is,
interesting.
yeah. So trauma and oppression can fundamentally rewrite your DNA, your gene expression, excuse me, and then that affects how we act out certain things. So that's when they talk about things are passed down in the line. It's energetically, it actually has a physical effect on our genes and things like that.
Well, I want to say this for those of you in the audience, particularly the ladies who feel that, and it's not about a shame game or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that at all.
Yeah,
We all need help to some degree.
yeah,
There used to be a saying that every time somebody think everybody else is crazy, that's the one you really look at. You know
mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because people don't. Now, I do have one question, by the way. My moderator says, please thumbs up. I mean,
sure.
it is absolutely free. All you got to do is press the button. It don't cost
Yeah.
nothing. One question that says, what are some spiritual practices that can help me cultivate inner peace and calm? I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that's a very important question. Okay, so one of the fundamental things I tell people, especially all human beings need to do this, but especially us Black folks, we have to regulate our nervous system. And that can be done through breathing, that can be done through mindfulness, that can be done through meditation. That is the simplest thing you can do. And it is free, it is free. And there's many resources online, on YouTube, free courses, free everything that can teach you how to meditate, how to regulate your nervous system, and how to breathe, because we have so much trauma and dysregulation in our bodies that we have to, and that causes a lot of the additional traumas we see in our community. We know that in our community we can get a little temperamental, we can get a little aggressive over slights and things like that. A lot of times those people are dysregulated, and so when somebody does something small to them, they can overreact. And so, to answer the question, breathing, meditation, mindfulness, give yourself the gift of regulating your nervous system. It will change your relationships with yourself, give you more insight, and how you relate to other people. My personal practice, I did a lot of healing of my own traumas through different modalities, and then I was able to get into a regular yoga practice, which has been wonderful for regulating my own nervous system. And so I would say, please, yoga, meditation, tai chi, qigong, but you have to regulate your nervous system. That is the simplest, and that is the first thing you can do to kind of begin to have a peaceful, calm demeanor within yourself, and
Kind of
also,
like a balance, right? So to speak.
yeah, like a balance, but also helps you to be able to respond instead of react.
That makes sense. That
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Even abundant alignment says meditation.
Yes.
Um, when a person comes to you, are they kind of like reluctant? Some people are so busy holding things in
Yeah.
that they keep things in themselves. How do you get them to really open up so you can get to the core of what needs to be done?
Yeah, so my approach, again, I'm not traditional. So I don't come in and say this is an agenda and you have 12 sessions and we have to get to everything. I know, especially working with Black people, it takes a while for our systems to open up. And when I say our systems to open up, we have to feel comfortable, we have to feel trusting. And the analogy I always use with my clients is, if you want to come in and for the first 6 months we're seeing each other, you want to talk about your week and what you've had for lunch, that's totally fine. Because as we build that rapport and you feel more comfortable with me, that'll allow your system, your inner being, to feel safe with me enough to open up and to become more transparent about some of the more challenging parts in your life. And so there's no push from my approach. There's no push. There's no rush. You take your time until you feel safe enough to reveal what needs to be revealed. Okay, so when I have them fill out like a little questionnaire and things like that, and they will put
Mhm.
down what they've had challenges with. So I'm not going to. So they put down that they were depressed or they had some terrible thing happen when they're a child. I don't immediately say, okay, well, tell me about the terrible thing that happened when you were a child. We talk about what their
In
life
other
is like.
words, you ease into it rather than
Yeah,
just
I
shock them, I guess.
I I ease into it and I let them bring it up. It's not about me pushing. I don't have an agenda. And it's not about re-traumatizing them. It's
I
about
like that.
helping
I like that.
them feel safe in the process, and they will naturally open up. And it can take as long as it takes. So
Because I imagine when people are traumatized, they set up their own defense mechanism, so to speak,
yes.
right?
Hmm. Yes, we
So,
do.
so therefore, their own way of protecting, and it doesn't happen again. So,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of things for the. By the way, Robert said, "Thank you for the answer."
You're very welcome.
Um, Abundant alignment says sound healing as well as listening to certain frequencies. Do you apply
100%.
that practice too?
Yes, absolutely. I personally go to a sound bath every week. It's a big part of my own spiritual practices. And definitely for my clients, I will recommend that they listen to certain sound frequencies for healing, depending on depending on how open they are. If my clients are open, I'll talk to them about doing certain tones to balance vocal toning, to balance their chakras. Because I'm trying to educate my clients in the first steps that they can do their own energy work before they see a professional. They don't have to wait, but I try to empower them with that information.
I like your approach. You tend to take a more holistic approach. I mean, including everything together.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even though you're medically trained
Mhm.
or professionally trained, the fact that you would use this, because normally normally with a so-called doctor, they have a whole different mindset that if you stray away from the more tried and true medical techniques, then that really doesn't count. But I like the fact that you are professionally trained in psychotherapy, but also adding a spiritual modality to it too. And
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
This person here says, "My mom passed last year, just turned 32. What are some
Mm.
of the ways to connect to self? Lost myself the second it happened."
Well, thank you for sharing that, Diamond. I would say first is to go get some counseling for grief and actually begin to work with someone professionally for grief. Grief can, especially any type of grief, loss of parent, child, whatever the case may be, can be devastating, but you can't get through it alone. Don't let anybody convince you that you just have to shake it off. And like you said, you've been lost to yourself. So go get some counseling, go get work with someone specifically on the passing of your mother, and that would be the best place to start. And another resource that is online is called Grief Share. It's called griefshare.org, and they have a 13-week program that you can take as much as you want to help you with the grief process. Because grief can be very isolating, because people pass away and then people move on, so you can stop getting the phone calls, you stop getting the check-ins, you stop getting this, you stop getting that, and you're kind of just left with those feelings. So please reach out to someone, counseling, and then the Grief Share support group.
That is very, very nice to know. And of course, she said, of course, thank you both.
You're welcome.
Um, and I have another one that says, "Are you able to teach someone to do astro traveling?" Which is interesting.
I I have a big wheelhouse, but it does not include astral traveling. That is not my
The
forte.
forte, so to speak.
That's not my forte.
Well, but but I would imagine people would ask you questions sometimes outside of your what they call
My
feed.
wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's interesting. This person, Yolanda, says, "I use all of these practices on myself and heal physically from lupus and non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and my traumas. Introduced herbal products, and that's that. It's a lifelong learning."
Absolutely.
Wow,
Wonderful.
thanks for sharing that,
Congratulations,
Yolanda. Yeah, thanks
Yolanda.
for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is possible because most illness is caused by inflammation.
Repeat that again.
Most illness is caused by inflammation, and trauma causes inflammation in the body.
Interesting. Interesting.
Thank you
Okay.
for sharing that, Jazz. Yep, that's it. Griefshare.org.
Yeah, and Diamond says thanks will do.
Yeah.
And Sister Maya said thanks will do also. Because
Hmm.
I like the fact again that you use an open metaphysical type of. Now when you tell people that you are a spiritual, and I heard of all of psychotherapists, they've heard of that.
Yeah.
But what happens, what's the response when they say this is something that has a spiritual component to it too?
They're very open. A lot of the people who come to me are open because I am very clear on my
And
website.
we're normally spiritual anyway.
Say that again.
We're the most spiritual people on the planet anyway.
100%. But then a lot of people, they grew up in very Christian homes with that were very rigid, and they told them they can't have this, and this is demons, and this is that, and all this other stuff. But then all Black people we always had the grandma or the auntie that had the dream about the fish, and they would tell you, "Oh, I had a dream about the fish, and somebody's going to get pregnant." What if that is not? That's not a premonition. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a metaphor that we know in our community means a baby is coming. When I was pregnant with my daughter, 2 weeks before I got pregnant with my daughter, I had a dream I was pregnant at my job, talking to someone in the same little work suit I used to wear at that time, telling the person who was my friend in the office that I was pregnant. That was 2 weeks before I got pregnant. And I said to myself, I think I had a premonition.
Yeah, but that seems to run through our communities and especially our
It
elders.
is
So when they talk
100%.
about fish, I mean, to this day, when they say a dream about fish, we definitely associate it with pregnancies or something's coming, you know?
Absolutely, 100%. And so when I tell my clients who are drawn to me about, we talk about these things, they're like, "Oh, of course. Yeah. It's a normal part of life and culture." I mean, for Black people, it's just different. I think for maybe the Caucasians, it's kind of like, "Oh my God, this is so unusual." But for us, even if they are super Christian, they have that whole component of the grandma, the auntie who used to have dreams. And so it's not like completely far out.
Wow.
And they're very open.
Well, this person here says dream about fish was or is an indicator of pregnancies too.
Mm-hmm.
And this person is a Pisces.
Mm.
And Diamond says, do you think all dreams have a spiritual meaning?
Okay, so there's levels to it, right? And so I believe that we take in so much information in our brains do a sorting process. And so sometimes it's just like a sorting process, of different like you'll have a dream and you're like, why am I dreaming about somebody I saw on the bus who I don't even know? Our brains can have a sorting process, but as we heal and do go through our inner transformation, the dreams can become more spiritual and they can become more clear and they can have more meaning for us. So it's like levels to it. The more we heal ourselves, the more meaning we can take from our dreams, and they will become more spiritual, and spirit will be able to give us more messages and intuitive insights.
Now, you know what's interesting when you talk about the ancestors, because this person here, Nandy Johnston, says, our intuition, we are Pisces people. Pisces equal the grandparents of the zodiac, the elder being. And this is exactly what you were alluding to,
Mm-hmm.
of connecting to our ancestors.
Yeah, that's beautifully said too, Nandy. Thank you.
Okay. And this other person, where did I see that? Okay. This person says, how can I develop greater self-awareness and understand my thoughts, emotions, and behaviors better? Excellent.
Yeah, so the modality I'm trained in is called internal family systems. And that helps you to understand that your inner system is made up of different parts. We have protectors. You alluded to this earlier, Lloyd. Protectors, the defense mechanisms that doesn't let the bad thing or the trauma or the upsetment happen again. We have firefighters, so that if the thing that could trigger us happens, we'll do something to put out, quote unquote, the fire.
In
Drugs,
other words,
alcohol.
firefighters within ourselves.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. These are
gotcha.
different,
Mhm.
yes, different components. And then we have the exiles, which hold the wound of the original trauma. So to answer your question, a book I always recommend to my clients is called Self Therapy by Jay Early. And it talks with you about understanding how your internal system works. And so you can build greater self-awareness, understand your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors better. Because a lot of times when we're taking action, we're not doing it from our calm adult self, we're doing it from our wounded self.
What is the name of that book again?
Self Therapy, SELF Therapy, and it's by Jay Early.
Jay Early. Okay. Diamond says perfectly said. And
Mm-hmm.
she also followed up with understood.
Yeah, and that book can be found on Amazon. I recommend that book to all my clients, and I have many clients working through it, just understanding how when they use a term in the book called being blended. When you become blended with one of your parts that's being reactive, this can be why we make some of the decisions we made that we later regret, why we react so strongly, why we feel certain things we don't understand, because we're blended with our parts and we're not in our adult higher self.
Well, what's interesting, speaking of that, let me just say this. You have an author of two books. Can you explain your book, please?
Yeah. So the first book I wrote that about 10 years ago, actually, and that's based on A Course in Miracles. And that's like the first 5 chapters of A Course in Miracles, kind of inspired writing. And so Spirit just guided me to write that. And so, because A Course in Miracles can be very dense. And so I just kind of wrote that book to kind of simplify it and help people connect with it better.
That's interesting. And you also wrote a second. Well, first of all, what led you to write this book in the first place?
I was reading A Course in Miracles a lot at that time in my life prior to 2014, doing a lot of, healing, kind of really kind of beginning to kind of process and put the pieces together about some of the things that had happened to me. And I found a lot of peace and solace through the book at that time.
Now, A Course in Miracle, that's the name of the book?
That's what this book is based on, A Course in Miracles. It's a very huge volume. It's very esoteric. Most people don't understand it, but but if you can get through the challenge of understanding it, it can have a lot of wisdom.
Okay. And miracles are performed every day. And by the way, this is your second book.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's A Black Woman's Guide to Emotional Wellness.
Yes.
I need to ask you a question. When I teach, I learn.
Mm-hmm.
When you counsel, do you learn too? Does that make sense?
Oh, all the time, 100%. I said the greatest internet is the Black woman wide web. I learned so much from them.
Hold up, the Black Woman's Wide Web.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Continue your thought.
Just I learn something new from them every day. They teach me so much. They've helped in my healing because, especially for women, we're trained that, you can't trust women, you can't talk to women, women this, women that. That's all meant to divide us. No relationship is perfect, no people is perfect. But when me spending thousands of hours, literally, Lloyd, working with Black women, it's been so healing for me, just being in their energy, laughing with them, listening to their stories, listening to the depth of their lives. And so I learn something new from them all the time. And it's their minds are amazing, interesting, amazing, funny. I learn from them every single day. To imagine, I mean, you've talked to people for thousands of hours too, but I'm compared to you, I'm still very new to this. I've only been doing this for like almost 10 years. But I've talked to people. I think I tried to do a calculation, like almost going towards probably over 7,000 hours of, clinical
Wow.
hours with people.
Wow. Well, see, that leads to this projection now about, they talk about the angry Black woman.
Yeah.
I don't hear them say the angry white woman, the
No.
angry Asian woman,
Yeah.
the Asian Hispanic woman, Asian Middle East woman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Only when it comes to sisters that they all got to be angry, as if there's a lock on just the only women that get angry are Black women.
Yeah. And that's totally not true. That's not totally not true. But again, it's rooted in misogyny and anti-Blackness, and is a way to diminish our rightful anger about many of the things that we've experienced as a community and a culture. And it's a way to minimize us. And we know how society treats Black women, so that's why we have to take better care of ourselves.
Wow, I think that's very interesting. And by the way, this is the name of the book, Self-Therapy by Jay Early. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for doing that. And Jazz Aphrodite has made it so for the self-therapy, this is the link where you go.
Thank you.
I have the best moderators on Monday and Wednesday. I'm very partial to my moderators. That's it. And this is another one she posted too, called The Journey Within.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jazz.
Okay. And also Sankofa Yoga, Rasmela published this one too. A Course in Miracles is very transforming, just as you mentioned. Obviously, it transform you to write a book concerning it.
Absolutely.
Here's another piece called Master Your Depression. I think this is nice. I think this is very, very nice. And it just says, and my buddy, King Simon, this is my metaphysical brother on a whole lot of levels. He says, great information it is.
Wonderful.
Because I deal primarily with mostly women, but they don't come in that way. They more kind of want to know from, what's going on with them, or relationships or health or whatnot. But this person here, also the same person that said before, she said, Sonia Ross, from your years of teaching, please tell us how we can protect our kids from this traumatic experience we have been going through.
Yeah.
And you said you have a daughter. So have you applied that to your daughter, for example?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, the biggest thing you can do to protect your child is heal yourself, so you don't re-injure them the way you were injured.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And then when you've dealt with yourself, you can be more transparent, you can be more open, you can be more compassionate, you can be more empathetic, and you can have certain conversations and dialogues with your child that your parents may not have been able to have for you. And you can be more attuned to how you react to them, how you respond to them, the language that you use. I think one of the greatest tools that we can use, that again is free, is for us to heal ourselves and cultivate empathy within ourselves, so we can be empathetic for our children and raise them in a different way.
That makes sense. Seemed like there is and the irony is, it seemed like there is a lack of empathy.
Yeah.
Like people don't care, and I don't get that. You would think that it would be in our best interest to show some kind of sympathy or empathy or whatever the case is. And Bunda says, preach, please. So she likes what you're saying. Okay.
But that can only be, the cultivation of empathy, Lloyd, is not an intellectual pursuit. You have to slow down and go into your heart.
Wow. But that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
To go within. Now, Diamond says, as a Black woman, what advice do you feel is most important to know as far as remaining grounded in today's time, which is challenging?
Yes, take care of your nervous system. Take care of your nervous system regulation. Um, really get as grounded as possible. That's where I believe spirit guided me on the yoga journey I've been on the last almost 3 years. Find something that can keep you grounded in your body and that helps you heal your heart so that you can stay regulated during these challenging times. This is why people are having these extreme mental health episodes, because the energy that's coming onto the planet is so intent. It's intent to bring up everything that needs to be healed, but most people don't have the self-awareness and the grounding to actually do it. So that would be my advice. Find something that you can do, like we talked about: breathing, meditation, yoga, qigong, tai chi, something that you're going to feel very grounded and you can heal your heart, stay in your body, and that'll help you through this difficult time.
And this person says, thanks for the example. That's showing love to the next level. I think that's good.
Wonderful.
Let me ask you this too.
Mm-hmm.
I think based upon the craziness, rent goes up, mortgage goes up,
Yeah.
food goes up,
Mm-hmm.
gas goes up,
Yeah.
everything is going up except a person's. There was a producer that's making a product called U Juice. He's going to be sponsoring the show soon.
Mm-hmm.
He said where the to get his ginger was $12.
Mm.
Now that ginger went from $12 to $50.
Mm.
And so there's a jump in everything.
Yeah.
Would you say that puts people under a lot of pressure too? Just that alone would add to it, especially if you're already depressed and trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills and
Yeah, but you
family.
have
That's a lot of pressure, right? No.
100%. 100%. Financial and economic pressures are real. But I will say that we have to remember who we are in our hearts and that our power comes from within. I will just say that when I was raising my daughter as a single mom and I was in college, money was very, very tight, as you could imagine. No one was supporting me. I was not working. I was getting scholarships. I was getting grants. It was just me and her.
Mm-hmm.
But I just had to say, when I went into the grocery store and I could swipe my card and I could always pay for our groceries, I would have to give thanks. Do what you can, just settle yourself. Again, breathe, meditate, connect with your heart, connect with the higher realms, and just trust the guidance you receive to how to navigate and flow through life. This world, because this is spirit told me, this is the world, this is the planet of resistance. That's what spirit told me. It's the planet of resistance. It's meant to push you so that you can kind of accelerate forward. But if we're always in a state of powerlessness, then of course we're going to always be externalized. The gas is up, the ginger's up, the groceries are up. But we have to connect with our power within. Even everything that happened with the election, the message I received from spirit is you create your personal reality. Stop looking outside of yourself. You create your personal reality. So go within, recognize who you are, know your power, and know what's going to take you to move forward. And that covers every area of your life. I'm not trying to negate the fact that some people are poor and people have economic challenges and things like that. I have been there.
But
But
you're talking about the mindset of how you're going to approach it. I take it.
yes, I'm talking about the mindset, but again, it's not always the mind, Lloyd. It's your heart. Go into your heart, calm your nervous system down, be connected to your inner self and say, like, please, like, help me, guide me, speak to me. How do I navigate my day to day?
Okay, that's deep. That's deep. Abundant alignment says 432 hertz is the heart healing frequency that will open up your heart, allowing you to love yourself and others unconditionally. Are you
Yes,
familiar with this frequency number?
I am. I am.
So let me say this then. If based upon what you just said,
Yeah.
if one just goes to say YouTube
hmm
and listen to this frequency,
hmm
because YouTube now you can do it, learn anything you want to.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
by, let's say, having that frequency on, do you think that might help heal people's hearts?
It can absolutely that, and sitting and don't and but also sit and be still and breathe while you're listening to it. What I did in my own
Uh,
personal practice of heart healing is I use a rose quartz crystal. I've been meditating with a rose quartz crystal for probably over a year now, I want to say. And it's good. And rose quartz is good for healing the heart, helping the heart expand, and helping with heartbreak and grief, and actually breathing, putting this over my heart and setting the intention for the crystal to absorb everything that's in my heart that's out of alignment with who I truly am. And that has brought a heart expansion. That has brought an opening. So those crystals you can use. There's frequencies you can use. There's many tools that you can use.
Abundant alignment. Thank you very much. Because I was wondering, and if the fact that it has a number with it, which is my thing. I look at numbers. And, I mean, I got issues, but
Okay, it's okay. You're gonna lay it on us. What does the 432 mean?
yeah, exactly. That's in fact, I was thinking that's a 9 and this, that, the other.
But 9 is the number of transformation.
Yes, and completion and fulfillment. Things like that. Thanks, Abundant, to get me off on a tangent with that. With my Now, the Vent Center says, is there a connection between experiences we have in dreams and reality? I feel sometimes my emotions transfer from the dream world into the physical reality, and I'm wondering if there is a connection.
Yeah,
Good
there's 100. Yeah, that's a wonderful question. That's 100% a connection. Oftentimes our angels will speak to us in our dreams. Our spirit guides will speak to us in our dreams. Our ancestors will speak to us in our dreams. Now, what the connection is, I can't really say because I'm not you, but think about how it makes you feel. Think about the meaning you took from it. And there's probably a message in there for you. Because also, I'll just say, Lloyd, that when we go into our dream world, depending on where you are in your spiritual journey or spiritual awakening, we will do like role rehearsals. And I know this is going to sound wild. We will do role rehearsals, dress rehearsals in our dream, depending on where we are in our spiritual path.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn. Abundant Alignment says also everything exists on a frequency. So there is a lot of distractions to pull you toward, but when you tune into yourself and tune into how you feel in your body physically, you can find peace.
100%. Absolutely. And so this is the powers that want you to be completely externalized. They want you to be into fear, into chaos, and different things like that. So you forget that you actually are a powerful, multidimensional being having a human experience. This is your human avatar. This is your human avatar. But ultimately, you are a multidimensional being having a physical experience.
Diamond says the power is always within. It's just tapping into it is the hardest. I guess like all things, until you get acclimated, and because we're creatures of habit, and this is the way we always did it. And I was always told it takes 21 days to break a habit and 21 days to form a habit.
Yeah, that's 100% true. It does. You have to. I do believe in that 21-day thing too. And also for Black women, we have to slow down. We have to slow down and we have to stop. I know rest is very popular right now, but it's deeper than rest. It's about going into your heart. You have to slow down and begin to understand and listen to what is happening inside of you.
I think that's very interesting. So for you, what has been your greatest challenge, so to speak, in doing this with clients? And what is, I guess, your biggest accomplishment, I would assume, is helping people out of their slump, giving them the direction they need. Have you had any challenges where you said, am I in the wrong profession? Or does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I've had some tough days, Lloyd, but 90% of them have been good days, but I've had some tough days because sometimes with just really seeing people in such a raw state, it can be hard because people have been through some like horrendous things. And you'll be like, oh my God.
In other words, when you thought you had problems, when you listen to theirs, you're doing good, right?
Well, yeah. Well, no, I don't make those type of comparisons because I don't ever want to diminish, my experience from your experience or anything. Like I just try to hold honor for every person's experience. But it's just the challenge. It's not so much about wondering if I'm in the right profession. It's just like, I think the challenge comes up like, let's use the election, for example. That was a hard day for a lot of people. I still had to work.
I heard.
I still had to work. My clients were all over the place, mentally, emotionally. I still had to work where I was processing my own feelings. So the hardest thing probably about my job is I have to show up when I'm having a bad day.
Regardless.
Or I'm not great, regardless.
Yeah.
That's that. But the greatest thing is that I still get wonderful emails. My clients, they always tell me, I've had them tell me I saved their life. I had them tell me that I brought light into their life. I've had them tell me they hear my voice in their head when they're making a decision now. I tell them that's not the best. You should only hear your own voice. But they say, no, I hear your voice. And you're like, and they'll do my voice. And you're like, should you really be doing that right now? Do you feel like that's the
So in
best
other words,
thing?
you're the angel on their shoulder, right?
Kinda, yeah. One of my clients, she referred to me as Glenda the Good Witch. I laughed about that like all last week. I thought that was pretty funny.
But
And so
I think we all need an angel on our shoulders from time to time that says you really shouldn't be doing that.
my clients be like, I literally hear your voice in my head going, now, like, why do you think you're doing that? And they'll say like different things like that. And so I got an email from a client I haven't seen in a year, and she's also a therapist now. And she said to me, she said, every time I'm with a client, I know you're with me. And I felt like that was really beautiful.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice. That is very, 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 very nice. I just think it's so interesting how this works. Let's see if we got some more comments here. This is fun. This person says, Sonia Ross, I thought I was the only one who heard your voice when making decisions.
Okay, so that's my best friend. So that's her. Thank you, Amy.
So she's vouching for you, right?
Yes. She's not a client. She's my best friend.
That's nice. That's nice. Ain't nothing like having your best friend to kind of drop in and say hi or whatever the case is, But let me get that because time is really going by fast. I've been enjoying this so much. I do want to talk about your book. It is available. Hold on. Let me clear this comment 1 second. So your book is available on Amazon.
Yes.
And it's The Journey Within.
Yes.
Okay. And this book is available for them.
Yes.
And they can reach out and actually, so it's kind of like a self-help book based upon your experiences too, I would imagine, right?
No, it's not a self-help book. It's just a book that you read, and if you take and you can help you to understand A Course in Miracles better.
Okay, now what about this one, depression?
That's
and
more
you went right to it too. You wasn't fooling around. Depression. Period.
Yeah, so that's kind of more of a self-help book, and it's kind of an introductory level to help Black women understand how depression shows up in our communities, how it shows up in our lives, how it shows up in our relationships with ourselves and others. And it's kind of an introductory book regarding depression to help Black women understand it better. I'm working on a sequel to it, and that should be out in May. And that will have some exercises and meditations, visualizations, again, helping us to reestablish our connection with our bodies.
And you know what? Now this has dawned on me, the depression can actually affect the offsprings of the person in depression.
Yeah, it affects how you parent. So many of my clients were parented by parents who had so much trauma, and they were depressed, and they were parenting from a place of depression. It makes you sad. It makes you
withdrawn. That affects them too, then, I would imagine, right?
100%, because if you have a parent that's sad and withdrawn and irritable and angry, as a child, you're gonna think it's you, but it's not you. It's your mom or dad was depressed, but they weren't getting treatment.
When somebody says they were brought up in a very abusive relationship, or they seen their father abuse their mom, can that be depressing to offsprings, so to speak?
Can that lead to depression in the offspring?
Yeah, to see maybe
absolutely.
One of the parents abuse the other parent.
100%, absolutely, because that's a form of trauma, and children don't feel safe growing up in homes where there's violence and abuse. I've had many clients where there was violence in the home, and so as now adults, they don't feel safe in relationships. They don't. I mean, it's like they constantly, when children grow up in violence, there's always an undercurrent of anxiety and agitation that the adult usually does not link back to their childhood, but it's something that's in their body because their nervous system has been harmed.
Interesting. What about, have you had the experience of talking to clients where they were adopted, but there was a mystery? Because I've had clients who were adopted, but there was always an underlying mystery. Why did my parent put me in an orphanage, or why did my parent abandon me? Does that kind of lead to trauma and depression too? And have you had that experience with your clients? I
have. Yep, absolutely. I've counseled several clients who were adopted, and they had really deep abandonment wounds. Whether the adoptive family was good or bad, they just really had a lot of abandonment wounds. Yeah. And also, again, remember, going back to ancestral and collective trauma, yes, they were adopted out, but they're still carrying the energy of what was going on with their mother when the mother was holding them in utero. And unless we do something about that, like, again, working with the energy body to clear ancestral patterns and burdens and, different things from across lifetimes, then adopted or not, that person will carry those messages within them, and it'll show up as, different behaviors and things like that.
Okay, this person here, Royal TM, says, I'm definitely in a funk, looking to get out of this rut. I'm in a 9 personal year. That means completions and fulfillments, of course. And she says, OMG, I need this valley to raise up to mountaintop. Completion of this downtime is needed.
Yeah.
And they're born on 6/22. Now, 22 or 4 is one of the, what is called the depression. I don't call it depression. 4, which is the 4th, 13th, 22nd, 31st, can kind of get moody. They deal with their moods and whatnot. So that may explain it. But I guess when people do get out of funks, there are certain things you can recommend. And this is a book that she put up, The Journey Within. Are you familiar with this book?
No, that's the one you already showed.
Oh, okay, your book. Yeah, that's why I said that looks familiar to me.
Yes.
Thank you. And let me tell you, my moderator, she's the best. That's all I can say. And then she put up your other book too. And she says you're getting it tonight. Yeah, thank you. Thank you
so
very much. We only got 3 minutes left. So hold on. I want to put up your banner, but I want to put it up where this is it here. Sonia Ross, she's a spiritual psychotherapist. She's excellent. She's an author, a beautiful mom, and probably a whole lot more. Her site is fullcircletherapyservices.com. Her email is sonia@fullcircletherapyservices.com. Her YouTube is Sonia Ross Intuitive Messenger.
Yeah.
So if people want to get in touch with you, do they go to your site or they go to your email? What's the best way to reach out to you?
The best way to get in touch with me is through my email. And for your guests tonight, I would like to offer them a 10% discount on the energy healing services.
Very good.
It's a 90-minute session. It's very transformative. It's a beautiful modality. So if they'd like more information and to set up a session, please email me at sonia@fullcircletherapyservices.com. And that I'll be able to honor that discount for the next 7 days. And so I would love to work with anyone in your audience who feels called and guided to work with me right now. And of course, they can follow me on my YouTube, where I do guided meditations and messages from the angels. And I'm also going to begin doing energy healings next month on the channel. And so they can follow me at Sonia Ross Intuitive Messenger.
I had glanced at one of your YouTubes and your cat was looking at an angel or something like that. So that's very interesting. Now, when they what code should they use to let you know they've seen you on this show, Live with Lloyd?
Yeah, so I want people to email me at the email address, and so they can just put Lloyd in the subject line, or I saw you on Lloyd's show or something like that, and I'll know that, and I'll honor that discount for the next 7 days or so.
Okay. Sonia Ross, this has been an honor and a pleasure. Please let me show people your book. I would encourage people to get their book. Also, please, there's something too. Where is this thing at? Oh, here he is, private chat.
I just noticed that it's a slight typo in that, Lloyd. So it's pay. Yeah, there's a typo. So that's not correct.
Oh, PayPal.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Please ignore that. And when you do, screenshot it. And that's my apology on that one. I dropped the ball on that one. Okay. So it is, hold on 1 second. I'm going to put www. Well, actually, my moderator, if you could put that in there, she is much faster and swifter than me.
Yeah, it just needs to say
PayPal.biz/full circle therapy.
Yeah.
And I misspelled therapy too.
Yeah, you were rushing. It's
wow,
okay.
Man. I don't want you to have no money. No. Moderator, please, if you can, just type in PayPal. I don't know when it's showing up. I hope it's showing up where people can see it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
No, it's not okay. But anyway, Miss Florbert says, good night, family. It was a wonderful night. Thanks so much. Too much information. I think that's it. The code is Lloyd. Thank you. And also, one more person says, been going through a lot of problems regarding my car situation in the second half of the year. I'm 26. 6 and 8 are my challenging numbers. And one of the cars is a 2004 Honda. Could that be the reason? Well, they not. That's interesting. If they are six and if they're 26 and they said their numbers are 6 and 4s are my challenging numbers, so that means they'd either have to be a 4 or a 5 or a 1 or under the sign. There it is, right there. There's the birthday. See, just I pulled it up. A 1 or Leo or an Aquarius. That would be it. Terrence, you're going to have to wait, buddy, and we'll have to do that at some other time. All right. And again, this is for get 10% off. Full Circle. Strawberry says, great show. I'm definitely going to buy a book.
Thank you, Strawberry.
And Amy, I guess your best friend in the whole wide world says, thank you, Lloyd. Sonia Jazz. Thank you to Amy. You know.
Hi, Amy.
And also Carmen said, thank you, Ashe. I have such great viewers. I am very, very, very thankful. And even my moderator says, thank you, Amy. Okay. So that's good. All right. So let me say this before we close, please. Again, let me get her books. Please get her books on Amazon.com. This is the first one. Let me take this comment off. Please get her book on Amazon.com, The Journey Within, based upon the book that motivated her to put this book out, A Course in Miracles. And of course, her second book that is definitely more direct and to the point. It is about depression. And I like it. Master your depression. Yeah. And we can master things once we put our minds to it, Sonia.
Yeah. It's about reconnection and self-awareness. We can heal anything. Trust me.
Very good. That sounds good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I do want to thank any more comments. Let me see any last minute. Okay. Terrence says they appreciate this. Very, very good. And anyway, now they're coming in with the birthdays. Well, we got to go right now, but I thank them very much. Sonia, thank you. Bless you.
Thank you so much.
Let me just put up your comment, your thing one more time, please. This is how you get in touch with her. Please take advantage of getting the discount for those of you who need services. And by the way, although we talked about women, true.
Yes.
She also includes the brothers. And I don't know why we men are so reluctant to receive therapy. And a lot of times we probably need more therapy than the sisters.
Well, I think they're reluctant because they think it's feminine, but it's not feminine to be healed and healthy. Yeah. And remember that the code is for an energy healing service. What I said is very profound.
Repeat that again.
I said, just a reminder, in case I wasn't clear, the code is for the 90-minute energy healing session.
90-minute energy. Okay. 90 minutes, hour and a half energy session. And just type in the code Lloyd and you will receive a 10% discount.
Yep.
And I would imagine she's very good. The fact she wrote a book and whatnot. But anyway, Sonia, thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm going to just switch over there because there's a couple of things I need to announce. And one of them is okay. So the show has been brought to you by Nicholas Brooklyn. That's one of our sponsors. And these are the people that you need to support and sponsor. Nicholas Brooklyn. Also, Jazz Aphrodite is also offering a holiday sale. All you got to do is go to jazzaphrodite.com. She's also sponsoring, this should be great, jewelry pieces. Go to Jazz Aphrodite. You will get a 10% discount off it now. Also, if you go to Rizza Islam and click on the QR code, you will also get a 10% discount. Also brought to you by Manifest on Purpose with Miss Kimberly. Her broadcasts, her podcasts are every Monday and Wednesday evening. By the way, she is also having a workshop on the very first day of January. Okay. And again, before we do the rest, please pick up Sonia Ross's book, The Journey Within. Also, Master Your Depression. And also on Wednesday, I am having Rochelle Jones, who is a mental therapist, health therapist. So we're going to answer some more questions. And while we're doing that, all of my classes are on sale now. You know, the only time I promote my classes when they're on sale. This is the cheapest that I've ever seen. If I took anybody out to lunch for lunch, and lunch is very expensive nowadays, as you see, you can, for the price of what, $30, you on all three courses. I don't think you're gonna get that. So I think it's the rest of the week, leading into Black Friday. So you have no excuse not to get my online courses, okay? Not unless you want to pay top dollar. Wait till the sale is over and pay top dollar. That's great business. But I'm not concerned about the monies, although everybody needs some money to do things. But my thing is I want you to have the knowledge. November's almost a wrap. The same time next week, we'll be in the month of December. But the newsletter is absolutely free. And all you got to do, if you still want to hear from the what was said, there's an audio version of it. Just click on the QR code and it will be it. And it will lead you to the November forecast we've done. And there's some other things that are coming up too. But I don't want to belabor it. I want to thank you very, very much. I will look forward to Wednesday. And I thank all of you that asked some very probing questions for my special guest, Ms. Sonia Ross, a spiritual psychotherapist. Everybody, I want you to all have a nice day. I need to thank my moderator, as always, Jazz Aphrodite. And don't forget to support her too. All right. So everybody, let me sign off. And I will see you within 48 hours. And don't forget, Mercury's retrograde. So that means be careful what you say, how you drive, how you speak, and make sure your intentions are correct. Okay? Have a nice day.